Hi guys, so in today's video I'm going to show you how to use your NAS as a VPN server with the VPN server package of Synology. Now I'm going to just to stress, I can't stress enough that I would not recommend you to use this package on your NAS as you are exposing a service on the internet, and as any kind of services, you can have some vulnerabilities within it, and if the service gets compromised, maybe a hacker can get access to your confidential data. So if you want to use a VPN, maybe use it on another device uh, than the NAS. So now, if you really gotta use this VPN function feature on the NAS, so the NAS is going to allow you to have different kinds of VPNs. You're going to have the PPTP VPNs for point-to-point tunneling protocol, which I do not recommend you because it is obsolete. Then you've got the L2TP over IPsec protocol, which is quite good, but I would not recommend it either because it's easily to get blocked, because it's always on the same port. It's the UDP 500 and maybe also 4500 depending on the configuration. And you've got the OpenVPN, which I recommend, which I'm using myself anyway, which is easy to set up, secure, but the only drawback is that you need to have a OpenVPN client on your smartphone and on the computer. The PPTP and L2TP IPsec is usually those are built into the clients like an iPhone or a Windows or Mac OS, so this is not a problem. Now for the OpenVPN, you can choose to use it over TCP or over UDP. So if you want something reliable, use TCP. If you want something fast, use UDP. And then you gotta choose the port that you want to connect over. Now I would recommend to use the TCP 443 because usually this port is open on any kind of firewalls. If you use another port like UDP 443 or TCP, higher numbers, other numbers, maybe you can go through too, but for my sake, I would just use, the TCP 443, but maybe you can because you already have another service using this port. Now, why would you use a VPN? As you can know, you can use the VPN because you would like to access your NAS securely. So you just need to expose the service of your NAS, but not the other services. You can use it because you would like also to access other devices that are behind the NAS, or you would like also to have a better confidentiality and integrity of your data on the network while you are into some public hotspots, for example. So you won't have you don't have a better privacy, because if you would like to have better privacy, you should use like other kinds of VPNs, like third parties, like Proton VPN, for example. I don't remember the names, because like this, people will not know who you really are. If you go through your own VPN, they will know that it's your internet subscription because you go from home. So that's another topic, but I use it personally so that all my traffic is encrypted when I'm in a public hotspot, for example. Now, if we talk about architecture, okay, so I love talking about architecture. So you've got your NAS here. Oh, I got the handwriting. You've got the UTM. You got the router, okay, and then you've got the beautiful web, which is here. We're gonna have a phone here and a phone here. Okay, so this is my LAN, this is my DMZ. You can have another NAS, for example, okay, NAS number 2, and here you have the WAN address. So in this video, I'm going to be here, okay, but the configuration that I'm going to show you will allow you to do the same thing when you are on the internet. So it will be quite realistic. Hopla. Now there are different kinds of things that you can do. You can allow you can have the split tunneling. This I would like to show you. Okay, so you've got some split tunneling. Okay, so the split tunneling here, let's take the case of the internet. Okay, so you would like to only be able to access your NAS through your VPN. Okay, so you go like this on your VPN and you access your services. And if you'd like to go on the internet, you go here. This is, let's say this is split tunneling. Okay, now you would like, oh, okay, I would like also to bypass some restrictions in the country where I am. Like, for example, I am in another country and I would like to access some services in my local country that I usually can when I'm there. So I'm going to use some full tunneling. The full tunneling will say, okay, you want to access your NAS, you go to you go through the tunnel. You want to access the internet, you still go through the tunnel, through your NAS, and then you go to the web. Okay, so that's the full tunneling. Now, there are also some DNS things to take into consideration. I don't have a good memory of what I have done because it depends on the scenario that you have, the architecture, and what do you want to achieve. It's full tunneling, split tunneling. Are you going to access your internal services through IPs or through domain names, host names, for example? So let's say if you are, I'm going to do a very simple example. Okay, when you're going to have your VPN connection activated, you're going to receive, if you want, a DNS setting through the DHCP. Okay, so if you're going to do some split tunneling, maybe you do not need to have a DNS setting. Okay, you would like to access your NAS. No, not like this. Let's say that, okay, we said split tunneling. You would like to access your NAS. Okay, you just need to write HTTPS up the IP of your NAS. Okay, this is what you're going to write. And if you want to go to the internet, well, it's okay. If you want to access the HTTP nas.local, for example, well, now you need to have a DNS. The DNS can be on your NAS if you want to have the DNS package, or you can do here. For example, me, I do it on the UTM. Okay, so you need to have a DNS if you like to start to use this. Now, if you have full tunneling, okay, full tunneling, it's a bit of the same thing. You can also access, through the IP. Oops, sorry guys for the handwriting. Or through, if you want to use it also through the domain name, you also have to have a DNS. Okay, that's quite easy. Now, on the opposite of the split tunneling, if you would like to go to the internet, your DNS has to be able, or your computer and your DNS has to be able to resolve the internet addresses, internet host names. So for that, you need to have a DNS forwarder. Oh my god, everything moved. Can I go there? Yes. DNS forwarding to the UTM or to the router or to the 8, let's say the 8.8.a.8, the Google DNS, for example, in order to be able to resolve. Now, I'm not going to go into more details because I've got this architecture, but the DNS settings are a little bit more complex because I'm using the always on VPN. Okay, so the always on with full tunneling too. Always on VPN, which means that what I've done is that I'm going to connect to my VPN wherever I am in my local network, or if I am, in the outside. That means that I don't need, oh, I need to plug this. That means that I do not need to always bring the VPN on or off. It's always on, and if I am inside the network, it will work. If I am outside the network, it will still work. It's very transparent. I don't need to do anything. It's completely transparent. Of course, you're going to tell me, but why are you using the VPN when you are inside your network? Well, the only reason is for me to be able to have this, transparent VPN, so I don't need to, to be sure that if I am outside it will work or not because I was inside, etc. I'm not going to go more into details because the DNS is more of a completely separate video if we talk about my architecture. Okay, so now let's go to the NAS. So we've got the PPTP, OpenVPN, L2TP. We've got the connection list. You've got no one connected. You've got the general settings. You've got the logs. So this is on which interface the service is going to listen for incoming connections. If you like to allow local users or LDAP or Active Directory users, you can automatically give the permission to new users, and you can have the auto block feature, but you have to go into the NAS settings for this. Now for the privilege, I'm going to show here, but you can say that the users can access the PPTP or L2TP or IPsec or one of them, both of them, the three of them. You can give the permissions. Now PPTP, we don't use it. L2TP, we don't use it. And OpenVPN, that is what we're going to use. So this is going to be the IP address of your NAS. When you connect yourself to the NAS, you will go through this IP as of a gateway. You can specify the number of connection that you want simultaneously on your system. So here it's only 5. If you want to have, for example, the same account which needs to be able to connect through the VPN through multiple devices, like 3 devices, you have to have 3 minimum. You choose the port, the protocol, the encryption algorithm. Yeah, I'm just going to use this one because it's good enough. And the authentication algorithm, here you can use this one too, it's enough. The compression is going to allow you to have a better throughput, but at the cost of it will use more resource on your NAS and on your phone. And allow clients to access your the LAN of your servers. So if you don't want people to go after your NAS, not after, on other devices that are on the same LAN than your NAS, then you need to untick this. If you want the users to be able to access your NAS but also some other devices in the same LAN than the NAS, then you can check this. Okay, so I've already exported the configuration for you, and I've put the extraction of the zip folder into the OpenVPN, to the configuration folder. I've copied the folder called NAS, and here we are going to edit the settings. So I think I've already opened the notepad. Okay, so you are going to download the configuration from your NAS. This is the file that you're going to get. You have to modify things. It will not work if you use it like this. The first thing to change is this. Okay, so as I told you, it's going to be like if I am on the internet. So I have a domain name, it's vpn.local. You can put a public IP address, you can put which I do not recommend unless you have a static IP address, or you can put the domain, and that's it. Okay, if you want to have full tunneling, you need to uncomment this string. Okay, otherwise it's usually commented when you download the file, so you just need to uncomment this if you want full tunneling. I want full tunneling, so I keep it like I've uncommented the line. Now this is important, is as I'm doing full tunneling, I need to be able to access my services, my inside services with host names, because that's what I do, and I want to be able to browse the internet. So I need to put the DHCP option DNS, and to put the DNS of the DNS server of my infrastructure. So this is this IP address. This is commented also, so you need to uncomment and to put your thing. If not using hostname inside your network, but only IP addresses, then you can put the DNS of Google, for example, or of your router. You know, you can put anything if you don't use domain names inside the system, inside your LAN. If you start to use domain if you need to use host names inside your network like me, this is more configuration that needs to be done, which I will not go through here. And then you can see that you've got the settings, you've got the integrity and the confidentiality algorithm. Now, something nice, I did not say anything about this on the French video, but with this string you can reference a file in the same folder, and you can put in this text file the username and password of the user. So you don't need to enter every time when you open the connection, you don't need to enter your username and password, okay? So this is the final, the final file that I am using for this video. Okay, so this is the configuration of my OpenVPN client. Now, of course, it's not finished. You need to have a NAS, okay, a NAT. So you can do I'm doing the NAT here, okay. Here is where I'm going to do the NAT. I don't care if I am from the internet or from the inside. I do my NATs here anyway. So now let's go to the configuration if it still works. Okay, so I have my NAT rule. It's going to say if I don't care about where the traffic is coming from, if it's using the service I've specified and it's going to the WAN address of my router, it's going to translate it to change the destination to my NAS, and it's going to keep the same service. I want to have an automatic firewall rule, and I log the packets. So usually I don't make automatic firewall rule. I always do the things, you know, manually, because I love to give myself some extra work. Now I would like to show something interesting that I've done for my French video. So this is about it for the configuration and the application. Now, can a security system detect what kind of application I'm trying to run? Okay, so that's a good answer. And I'm going to do also some Wireshark to check what are the protocols that are really involved. Is it TLS? Is it SSL? You know, this kind of things. Now I'm going to to restart this, to connect up. I'm going to connect myself there. Okay. And now what are we going to see of all this? Okay, I'm connected now. So let's stop this. And there we go. That's we're not going to see something really interesting here. I think we should just see here that no, this is application control. Sorry guys, I wanted to show you this first. Those are the firewall rules. I need to go down because I've stopped the auto scroll. Do we have that might be hard. Let me see. Do we have the port? I'm not going to take too much time to try to find this. Let's see. Okay, no, I don't see this. Well, let's go like this maybe. Okay, there you go. Oh, this is not current. Well, I don't care. I'm just going to show you that we can see that we have the traffic that is allowed through the NAT rule and the implicit firewall rule, and we can see in the application, so my security system knows already that I'm using an OpenVPN service. So how does it find this? Usually it can take the information from the service, so from the port that is being used, but also by checking the different exchange between my computer and my VPN server. So that means that a security system in a hotel, for example, can detect that I'm using OpenVPN or I'm using L2TP VPN or PPTP VPN and block this. So it's not a foolproof or bulletproof system. Maybe if I used the TCP 443 ports, maybe it would detect that it is TLS or SSL or HTTPS, but here it's not the case in this video. Now for the Wireshark, what are we seeing? Okay, we can see that, and you see this is the product that I'm using. I think I saw Sophos here. So we have the SYNC ACK, so the three-way handshake that is being done, and then we can see that we're changing some message types, and maybe this is where the UTM is able to detect that I am using an OpenVPN VPN service. Okay, and we can see the port, and we can see here the most important thing. This is before the certificate is exchanged, and we can see that it is TLS 1.2, which is good. Okay, which is good. It's not SSL, it's TLS, so this is great. Now, as I am connected directly on my NAS through the VPN, I can bypass all the security features I have, and I can access my services through the IP address. Okay, if I would like to access my NAS with the IP, this is forbidden in my infrastructure. But as I am connected in VPN, I can just type the IP address and it will work. Okay, so this is also what I said in my architecture video. If you do this kind of VPN too, well, you are completely blind on what is happening. Okay, your IP, your network intrusion prevention system cannot check. If you have a reverse proxy with a web application firewall, well, this is bypassed also. Well, a lot of things are bypassed and you have less control over it. Okay, so I think that I have said all I wanted to say. I am really sorry for the DNS part of this video because it's more complicated than what it seems. But if you have any kind of questions on how to implement VPN or through a different architecture like mine, for example, just feel free to ask any questions and I will gladly answer them. And if you like the video, consider subscribing to my channel and like the video. Thank you and bye-bye.